you begin to ask yourself, how can a land have so much wealth and the people are so poor? That is the story of Nigeria. And this story is one we must continuously interrogate.
wọ́n tún kí wa lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin lọ́mọdé lágbà nínú ilé yìí nílẹ̀ nàìjíríà ọ̀sán làwa wà bí aago kan kọjá ìṣẹ́jú mẹ́rìndínlógún làwà yìí tẹ́yìn bá wò lọ́dọ̀ tí yín ó lè jálẹ̀ mo kí yín lọ́kọ̀ àsán mo kí yín káàárọ̀ mo kí yín kú rọ̀lẹ́ mo sì kí yín kalẹ́ mo kí yín kú dédé àsìkò tí ẹ wà yìí àti tẹ̀tí ń wò mí ẹ sì kú bójú ọjọ́ ti rí ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọlẹ̀ ń wò lórí YouTube àti Facebook wa ìkànnì yìí ẹ máa bá wa buwọ́lù ẹ máa fọ́lù wa lórí Facebook ẹ sì máa subscribe fún wa lórí YouTube ẹ̀yin tí ẹ bá wò wá tó bá lórí YouTube tí ẹ tí ì tẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ òbí tán kọ subscribe sí kẹ̀kẹ́. ohun tá a fẹ́ sọ ó ní àṣírí àwọn Fúlàní tó ń tú sí wa lọ́wọ́ yìí àti àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣàgbọ́dẹ̀gbà fún wọn mining ìwakùsà nílẹ̀ Yorùbá pàápàá jùlọ bó ṣe wá gbòde gan ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ìjínigbé tó gbilẹ̀ púpọ̀ jù nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ insecurity tó pàápàá jù tó ga jù tó wà nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí ohun táṣìírí tútàrí ni wípé ìwakùsà ló fà á illegal mining. ní àná nínú fídíò mi mo ṣó bí ó sì ṣe jẹ́ pé àwọn kan mine nílùú kan tí wọ́n ń pè ní Bọ́ní ní Dọ́bà ní Bọ́ní tó jẹ́ pé àwọn ọlọ́kadà wọ́n gba 12,000 naira lórí àpò bóyá lithium ni wọ́n wà ní o bóyá gold ní o ẹ wo ọlọ́kadà bọ́n ṣe tó ẹ wo bọ́n ṣe tó awodẹ ni wọ́n fi ṣe bó ṣe wà yìí òun lẹ rí tí wọ́n dìsà sẹ́yìn ọ̀kadà yẹn àwọn ọlọ́kadà yẹn ni wọ́n jáde ni wọ́n wá tákù Sunday Igboho torí wọ́n ti gbọ́ pé ó ń bọ̀ nílùú àwọn wọ́n ti mọ̀ kó fẹ́ wá ba bísínẹ́sì wọn jẹ́ gbogbo tẹ́lí táwọn ẹni yìí ṣe yìí kò lọ́wọ́ ìjọba nú o mi ò mọ̀ o bóyá state government mọ̀ ń pa ẹ̀ o àmọ́ kì í ṣe pé àwọn iléeṣẹ́ tó ń kó àwọn kìíní kì í ṣe pé wọ́n rẹ́gísítà illegal ni mining wọn. ẹ jẹ́ kí n tó wá já wa sí kan kì í ṣe Bọ́ní nìkan o rárá ibì kan tó wà tí akọ̀ròyìn kan Òbílò tó lo drone ó ti dé ìlú yẹn báyìí kò wá lè dé inú igbó yẹn wọ́n jẹ́ kó dé inú igbó tí àwọn onímáìnì yẹn ti ń ṣiṣẹ́ ó wá lọ lo drone ó lẹ̀ ń wò yẹn ó wá lo drone láti lọ fi cover wọn drone yẹn dẹ̀ capture gbogbo tú tí wọ́n pa láì. so ó ní mo ṣe ń sọ ni mo ṣe ń tẹnu mọ́ pé ohun tó jẹ́ ìjínigbé insurgency ní Nàìjíríà lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí ọ̀nà àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣe mining ló pọ̀ jù nú ẹ̀ kí sì ni wọ́n mine gold lithium àtàwọn oríṣiríṣi àlùmọ́nì míì bẹ́ẹ̀ ìdí nìyẹn tẹ́ fi rí tán pa Yorùbá nípa púpa torí pé àwọn ẹni yìí ni wọ́n ń lò láti fi secure ara wọn àwọn Chinese àwọn Turkey àtàwọn countries míì ni wọ́n wà ní ìcháàjì àwọn mining yìí wọ́n á wá illegally ó níbi tó ń bá táwọn ọlọ́kadà yẹn bá wọn gbé lọ n tó wà ní àpò kọ̀ọ̀kan hundreds of thousands of dollars ni láì dẹ̀ ní tìjọba nú. ìkànnì mo ṣó lánàá ẹ tó wò mí tọkùnrin lọ ṣe wá ẹ play ẹ fún wa kárí.
A new word. Do you know, from Itasa town to this place, it took us about 1 hour 20 minutes. As you move in, you think you have moved into an ungoverned space. It is amazing. The community you see on the way, you see what you call colonies on the road, occupied by a certain tribe. You see cows roaming freely in the bushes. Are you asking yourself, is this part of your state? It's entirely a new world. It is so deep in, and by the time you move closer, you are told there is a mining site where billions are carted away almost every day. Important minerals are being mined, and the community is so isolated. You see wealth and you see poverty. You begin to ask yourself, what kind of country are we building? You begin to ask yourself, how can a land have so much wealth and the people are so poor? That is the story of Nigeria. And this story is one we must continuously interrogate.
ẹ wo drone bó ṣe ń gbé activities tó ń lọ nínú ìlú yẹn, ìtàsà ni wọ́n pè bẹ́ẹ̀. Àwọn aráàlú yẹn gangan ni wọ́n ké gbàjarè síta o, ló jẹ́ kí òbí lò yẹn lọ́mọ yíbò lẹ́ni tó lọ yẹn o, but ibi tágbára ẹ̀ gbé dé ibi tó lè dé ló dúró sí yẹn, ó wá rán drone níṣẹ́. Drone ló capture gbogbo tẹ̀ ń wò lójú wòran. Drone ló capture gbogbo tẹ̀ ń wò lójú wòran ẹ̀. Nínú drone yẹn gan pàápàá a rí activities tó ń lọ. Onímọ̀ṣẹ́ ní stop ẹ̀ kí n sọ̀rọ̀, ẹ máa rí activities tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́. Ìtàsà ni wọ́n tún ń pè bẹ́ẹ̀ nílùú Ọ̀yọ́, nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ń bẹ̀ náà. Mo fẹ́ ní almost every virtual places in Ọ̀yọ́ state nothing ṣe illegal mining sí. Tọ̀yọ́ state làṣírí ẹ̀ tú yẹn. Ta ló mọ route tó ń lọ lógùn state? Ta ló mọ route tó ń lọ lóńdó state? Ta ló mọ route tó ń lọ lẹ́kìtì state? Ta ló mọ route tó ń lọ Kogi state? Ìlú Ìtàsà ni wọ́n tún pè lé. Èmi ò mọ ibi tó ní ìtẹ̀ gbọ́ rí. Nínú drone yẹn rí ibi tí drone ti capture activities, every movement tó ń lọ níbẹ̀ bí pé èèyàn wà nínú plane tó wá wo tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lẹ́lẹ̀. Ẹ máa play lọ.
Minerals are being mined, and the community is so isolated. You see wealth and you see poverty. You begin to ask yourself, what kind of country are we building? You begin to ask yourself, how can a land have so much wealth and the people are so poor? That is the story of Nigeria. And this story is one we must continuously interrogate. We just left archetype mining site. Though we could not penetrate physically, but we could see the pictures from the drone, as you can see now. I see wealth. Oyo State should be rich. Itasa should be rich. The people should be rich. Nigeria should be rich. Yet poverty is rising. Something is wrong somewhere.
Ṣé ti rí drone kòtò tí wọ́n ti wá kùsàlẹ̀ wò yìí o, drone ló gbé bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. Gbogbo activities tó ń lọ wọn kò tó débi tí activities yẹn ti ń lọ. Tílẹ̀ bá ti wá ń rí tí wọn ò lè gbẹ̀wò wọn. Play báyìí kọ́ máa rí movement. Ṣé rí movement bó ṣe ń ẹ̀wò wọn? Àwọn tó ń wa kùsàlẹ̀ rí yẹn o. Àpò lẹ́ni tó ń gbé sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ tó ń sáìtì yẹn bọ́ ṣe ń wà náà kó sákò náà kúrò. Ṣé ó ní wọ́n gbé sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ yẹn kùsálẹ̀ rí tí wọ́n wà nínú ibi tẹ́ ń wò yẹn. Mining ló ń lọ nínú bẹ̀ ní Ọ̀yọ́ state Ìtàsà. My question is always that àti rí kìíní àti rí kejì ṣé gọ́fúnà wà wí ẹ̀ ni? ṣé àwọn tó wá ń jọba ṣé wọn ò wà wẹ́ pé nǹkan báyìí lọ ni, and they are all illegal. wọ́n wà tán wọ́n dẹ̀ kò sí fún rẹ́gísítà, àwọn òyìnbó akọ̀ wọlé wọ́n máa ṣe tó wọ̀n ẹ̀tẹ̀ wò wọ́n, àwọn ọmọ kó kan láwọn tó ń ṣọ́ wọn yẹn lọ́wọ́, sophisticated weapons. And irú àwọn nǹkan báyìí mo ṣe sọ pé tí Yorùbá ò bá ṣọ́ra ẹ bóyá ní ìsọjẹ́tì yẹn lè sọ. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. àfi tó bá lè gbà tó expose gbogbo àwọn illegal miners yẹn kiri, tó bá ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ because àwọn kúkú ní ṣe sponsor wọn, àwọn lọ́nà àwọn helicopter tẹ́lẹ̀ tó ń gbélé tó fi ń da oúnjẹ tó fi ń já oúnjẹ kalẹ̀ fún wọn yẹn, àwọn ní so yẹ kó máa rí bẹ́ẹ̀ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. So the secret behind àìmájẹ́ kí Igboho operate freely, these are most of the secrets tó wà behind it. Igboho kì í ṣọ́ máa wo Igboho kì í ṣọ́ máa wo, and if you don't belong you cannot do it. So yẹ kó rí máa rí báyìí lọ. Ìtàsẹ̀ kan tó ṣẹ́rí ṣebí Ọ̀yọ́ mo tún sọ ṣebí tọ̀yọ́ lẹ́rí táṣìírí ẹ̀ tú tó bá tú di state kọ̀ọ̀kan nílẹ̀ Yorùbá yìí, the whole Nigeria as a whole, kì í ṣe ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ní the whole Nigeria, ẹ jẹ́ kó tú di state kọ̀ọ̀kan ẹ wá rí wọn máa flaunt owó, ẹ máa pè wọ́n billionaire, illegal money nítorí yẹ káwa máa fi ṣe ọ̀rọ̀, táwọn kan ń kó sọ sí abẹ́ in fact táwọn kan ń kó sábẹ́ táwọn náà dẹ̀ wò lẹ́yìn kó máa rí báyẹn. Àwọn kan ṣe documentary, in fact before documentary gbogbo alákùnmọ̀ gọ́fúnà Ayọ̀ Fáyọ̀ṣe, bọ̀ èmi retí kinní kan tẹ́lẹ̀ nígbàtí gọ́fúnà Fáyọ̀ṣe gbogbo àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń sọ yìí, mo retí kí gọ́fúnà Ọ̀yọ́ kọ́ máa jáde kọ́ máa deny ẹ̀. Àwọn ò gbàgbọ́ pé lóòótọ́ làwọn nǹkan yẹn ṣẹlẹ̀ o, àwọn ò gbàgbọ́ bẹ́tà wá ń gbé síta kó lè jẹ́ bí ipa àfẹjọ́sùn gọ́fúnà pẹ̀tù wò kan táàrí o gọ́fúnà ẹgbọ́ kí ni kílẹ̀ rí sọ sí. Fáyọ̀ṣe tó ti jáde síta, ó tó ti open tab, ẹ̀rọ tó ti ń yọ. Ẹ jẹ́ kọ́kọ́ gbọ́ nǹkan tí Fáyọ̀ṣe sọ náà lórí ọ̀rọ̀ illegal mining àti kidnapping tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ l'Ọ́yọ́ state. Why tó fi jẹ́ Ọ̀yọ́ ní gbọmọgbọmọ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá? Ìgbà tí wàhálà yìí máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ náà nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, Ọ̀yọ́ state náà ní gọ̀gọ̀. Àtúngbọ́ nísìn Ọ̀yọ́ state náà ní lẹ́yìn Kwara, ètí Kwara ṣe àti Kogi wọ́n ti kọjá pé kọ́ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá o tí ò lálùmú àmúlùmálàánú bíi ti Ìlọrin o, bíi ti Kwara state o, ilẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ state yìí náà. Why? Ẹgbọ́n kan tí Fáyọ̀ṣe sọ.
You know, today, let us leave Oyo State first. I'll come back to that. Many people form their own kidnapping. Many, even husband and wife, can form it for material gain. You see a situation where a council chairman forms our own kidnapping or arrange kidnapping of some people just for them to be in office. So there's no big deal. It is the thing, it is what they are doing today, which is regrettable. It has been monetized even at the security levels, at different levels in families and colleagues. A lot is done. So what I'm saying in effect was an allegation. In my view, the incidents surrounding what happened in Ogbomoso and the response of the state government. But let me tell you very quickly, it is equally the responsibilities of the state. The federal government is to complement efforts of the state. Yes, they are not chief security officers, but the necessary resources are in their hands to mobilize the police in their states, to mobilize relevant agencies of government for information that can prevent, that can act on the spot, and that can cause after incidents response. You see, no governor here would tell me that we don't have resources to manage our affairs. When there is a declaration of a state of emergency, in some states, it brings in the federal government's intervention. And I want to say to you, it was the responsibility, and it still is the responsibility of all state governors to manage the security network of their states. Again, when I was governor of Ekiti, I prevented, through due legislation, you cannot carry cows in my state. I mean, cows cannot roam in my states. Cows cannot move in my states during in the night. You have to actually have a dedicated place where cows should be. And when some flouted this authority, we pursued these cows, took custody of them, and we were killing it for the state's benefits. If your cows are very important to you, if there are certain things that are important to you, you must guide it jealously. You don't go in the night and destroy the livelihood of so many people. Those are at the state level. Don't bring the government, federal government into this. It is easy to blackmail anybody. It is easy to blackmail the federal government at all times because people are interested in the seat of the president. So, for me in Oyo State, in the course of that problem, Governor of Oyo State, Governor Makinde, and the government were not proactive enough. While you still have to do what you have to do, it took a while before the response. You understand? And there are things we must remember. Don't tell me anybody cannot do anything in Nigeria. A lot get away because they are not caught. They seem to be saints before they are not caught. So it is expected of a government, not only in Oyo State, the local government and the state government, to ensure and have proactive measures. I don't care what anybody says in Oyo State. Anybody talking from Oyo State is definitely on the other side. Recall I said that the Olubadan was to be removed. I stand by that at the time. I don't play that to the gallery. But when you are caught and you are in the ring, you barely can do nothing. In Oyo State, the traditional rulers, the foremost traditional rulers, the Alaafin of Oyo was installed by Governor Makinde. The Showo of Ogbomoso was installed. The Olubadan was installed. When you look at the controversies leading to their installation, and the face-off today, you will not be surprised that Governor Makinde has capacity to do anything. How do you coronate a supposed traditional ruler without their presence? How do you spend so much resources when the people you want to coronate are not seated? It was Governor Makinde that brought the Alaafin for you. They are back to back now. If I'm not making this mistake, the situation is still the same in Ogbomoso. So something is fundamentally wrong. If anybody is timid, I am not timid to say my mind. I'm a former governor. If you are governor today, you met us on the job. It's only governors that doesn't know what is, former governor that doesn't know what's up. That a sitting governor can be doing the wrong thing, you can't tell him. So I say it again, everything that I've said before now, I stand by them. I don't shy away from them. And I want to say to you, there's still a lot to be desired of the government for your state.
Ṣé gómìnà ṣe ìfẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀? Ṣé gómìnà ṣe déédéé tó lórí kí wọ́n gba àwọn ọmọ yẹn sílẹ̀? Ṣé Ọ̀yọ́ state ṣe tó yẹ ká ṣe? Kí ni faith wa? Ṣé illegal mining kan ni ó ń lọ déédéé nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́? Àfi ká mójútó kì í ṣọ̀yọ́ nìkan mo tó sọ wà láì kì í ṣọ̀yọ́ nìkan sẹ́ẹ̀ a ní gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àṣírí ìtọ̀yọ̀ ló ń tú yìí tẹ́ bá dógùn tẹ́ bá dòdò tẹ́ bá dẹ́kìtì tẹ́ bá dọ́ṣun kódà mọ́ Lagos State ṣe tó free pé bá ti wá rí informations ká máa fi síta káwọn governors yẹn lè gbọ́. Yorùbá ní etí ọba nílé etí ọba lóko èèyàn ló jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ń bá wá jẹ́ gọ́vnà Mákindé ní lọ́wọ́ yìí o máa wá inaugurate àwọn task force kan gbogbo àwọn ibi tó ti identify pé illegal mining wà yẹn I will now inaugurate some task force tó máa lọ bá wa yọlu wọn lójijì láì announce tó dẹ̀ máa wà tó máa wà arm to teeth tẹ́ pé nǹkan ọjà ogun tán ìdìmọ́ra kódà bí machine gun bá ṣe gbé dání kẹ́ ẹ arrest gbogbo wọn báyìí gbogbo tán ti jẹ wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ pọ̀ dátẹ̀ tó wá gbọ́ pé àwọn gbótà ń sọ ìgbó federal government ni federal inaugurate àwọn task force irọ́ ni òótọ́ ni gbogbo àwọn bí tó ti identify lè jẹ́ kán lọ wò wọ́n gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tó yẹ kó ṣe ọmọ Nàìjíríà lórí àpò àwọn olóṣèlú kan ló bọ́ sí àpò àwọn ọba kan ló bọ́ sí because kò sí àwọn ọba ò lè sọ fún mi pé àwọn ò mọ̀ pa tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ yẹn tá a bá fẹ́ ṣẹ́gun insurgency láti grassroots báyìí ni o tá a bá wú tégbòtégbò tó bá lọ díẹ̀ ó sì ń padà bọ̀ tó bá lọ díẹ̀ ó sì ń padà bọ̀ àgbò tó tàdí mẹ́yìn ló máa wá jẹ́gbà yẹn a wá lọ mú agbára ńlá wá torí gbogbo loopholes tíjọba fi wọlé sí wọn lára yẹn lánàá wọ́n wá lọ re-strategize wa government àárọ̀ ọ̀nà kan ní tẹ́lẹ̀ fi gbà fi curb insurgency and make sure pé in fact investigate gbogbo àwọn onúgbó yẹn kí ló lọ́nu wọn yàtọ̀ fún jìnnìgbé àwọn tó yẹ ká fi ṣàlùmọ́nì nílẹ̀ wa tó ń lọ ń bẹ̀ táwọn kan àwọn kan ni wọ́n sponsor wọn they will talk tọwọ́ bá tó wọn. ẹnìkan ṣe documentary yẹn mo fẹ́ fi wálẹ̀ pẹ̀lú oníkálùkù wa náà kájọ wò ó níbi tọ́rọ̀ wa ti wọ́ wá gan-an tílẹ̀ Yorùbá náà ọ̀rọ̀ wa ìbá máa wọ̀ gbogbo wa láyé ìbá máa kàn wá tó bá pa gbọ́rọ̀ sí gbogbo lẹ́nu wà ìgbọ́rọ̀ sí lẹ́nu ẹ̀ ló ń kó yàjẹ́ wáyé torí pé ntọ́mọkùnrin yẹn rí tó sọ ń pa ẹ̀ gbogbo Yorùbá àwọn tó sọ di kèfèrí sọ́ọ̀dì àwọn tó yín mú sí àwọn tó rí bí ọmọ ọ̀tá end of the day ó jájú wa lójú sìn kí ni ká ṣe ẹ jẹ́ kájọ jókòó kájọ gbọ́ documentary ó kù díẹ̀ o àmọ́ àṣírí tó pọ̀ ló wà bẹ̀ kódà gbogbo báwọn northerners yẹn bọ́ ṣe ń rí gold tí wọ́n dá ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tó ń dá tẹ̀ṣẹ̀ pẹ̀lẹ́ máa gbọ́ nínú ẹ̀ happy viewing.
Between July 2024 and June 2025, 4,722 Nigerians were kidnapped. The people who took them demanded 48 billion naira. They collected 2.57 billion. And across every military operation, every airstrike, every arrest in that entire period, the number of bandit warlords convicted in a Nigerian court was exactly 0, not one single conviction. So the question is not why the kidnappers are winning. The real question is who in this system actually wants them to stop. Because when you follow the money, and I mean all of it, it does not end in the forest. It ends somewhere you are not expecting. Stay with me. Before we go further, if you are new here, this channel exists for one reason: to give Nigerians the political analysis that mainstream media will not touch. Hit subscribe and stay with me because this gets a lot deeper. Let me take you to November 2025, Papiri village in Niger State. A mother is pressing her daughter's school uniform, packing her bag, saying a prayer at the door, and sending her off to St. Mary's Catholic Secondary School. Same school, same morning routine. By noon, armed men on motorcycles have surrounded the compound. By evening, over 300 children and 12 teachers are gone. No demands, no phone call, just silence. That abduction became one of the largest school kidnappings in Nigerian history, and it was not random. It was not even unusual. It was simply the largest single incident in a year that recorded 997 separate kidnapping events across Nigeria. Nearly 1,000 times in 12 months that armed men took someone's child, someone's parent, someone's priest, and disappeared into the forest with them. The research firm SBM Intelligence spent years tracking every single one of these incidents. Their data tells a story that most people are not ready to hear. The analyst, Cheta, who leads that firm, described what jumped out at him when the full dataset came together. He called it the democratization of the victim pool. Nobody is off limits. Clergy, judges, school children, farmers heading to their fields. The system does not discriminate. It simply grabs. Now, to understand how we got here, you have to go back further than most people do, because this did not start with kidnapping. It started with cattle. For generations, Fulani herder communities moved with the seasons across northern Nigeria. They followed the rains north, they followed the water south. They grazed their herds and they traded with farming villages along the way. It was not perfect, but it worked, until the land started running out. Less water, fewer grazing corridors, more people competing over the same shrinking farmland. Cattle went missing. Herders blamed farmers, farmers blamed herders. Then a third group appeared, the Yansakai. These were vigilante groups from farming communities who armed themselves to fight cattle theft. But they did not only go after thieves, they went after Fulani herders broadly. Bello Turji, one of the most dangerous warlord figures in Nigeria today, says the Yansakai killed 6 of his siblings and stole his family's cattle. His father tried to sue the emir. Nothing happened. The police were not there. The courts did not work. The government was absent from those rural communities in ways that are genuinely hard to believe unless you have been there. So the herders began arming themselves. First with machetes, then with Dane guns. Then somebody crossed into Niger Republic and came back with an AK-47. And by 2018, everything had changed. A kidnapping paid more in a single week than a full year of herding cattle. A gold mine was worth more than any grazing route. The men who first picked up guns to protect their families were now running armies. And the fuel that made all of this possible came from 3,000 kilometers away. In October 2011, Muammar Gaddafi was killed. His regime collapsed and nobody secured the weapons. AK-47s, RPGs, machine guns, anti-aircraft systems, millions of rounds of ammunition. Gaddafi had stockpiled enough to arm several national armies. Within months of his death, all of it was moving across borders that nobody was guarding. From southwestern Libya, the weapons traveled by 4-wheel drive through the Sahara into Niger. They moved south through smuggling corridors that have existed for centuries, and they ended up in the forests of Zamfara. By 2021, that pipeline had delivered something the Nigerian military was completely unprepared for. On the 18th of July 2021, a Nigerian Air Force Alpha jet completed a strike mission along the Zamfara-Kaduna boundary and turned for home. As it passed over forest controlled by a Kachala named Ali Kawaje, the ground reached up. Ground fire hit the aircraft. The jet went down. The pilot, Flight Lieutenant Abayomi Dairo, ejected alone into bandit territory, surrounded by the same men his mission had just bombed. He hid until dark, used his phone to navigate through the forest, and walked out alive. The jet did not. 5 days later, the same group destroyed an armored military vehicle. No armed group in the Northwest had ever brought down a military aircraft before. This was new, and it told you something important about where the money was going. So let us talk about the system itself, because this is not a gang, it is a franchise.
Across northwest Nigeria, there are more than 120 armed groups. Each one is run by a kachala, a commander. Below him is a deputy. Below the deputy is an enforcer called a smally, who takes charge when the kachala is away. Below them are the fighters, mostly teenagers and young men from the same broken communities we just described. In Zamfara state alone, there were an estimated 30,000 fighters spread across more than 100 camps as of 2021, and that number has only grown. No single kachara controls all of them. There is no central command. Each one runs his own territory, but when a big operation comes together, a mass kidnapping, a highway ambush, an attack on a military base, 3 or 4 kachalas pool their men and their motorcycles. It is a franchise, not a chain of command. And this franchise makes money 5 different ways. Kidnapping for ransom is the one everyone knows about, but there is also gold mine taxation, cattle rustling, forced labor farming, and territorial levies. That last one is the part that changes how you understand everything else. In 2022, a reporter from Premium Times spent 8 weeks inside bandit-controlled territory in Zamfara. What he found was not just raiding, it was governance. In one community, armed gangs raided farmland, chased away the farmers at gunpoint, and then came back to demand 1.5 million naira just to leave them alone. The villagers pooled it. Some gave 500 naira, some gave 15,000 naira, whatever they had. After they paid, they were given exactly 1 week to harvest their crops. In another area, a bandit leader installed himself as the village head of a town called Gangara. In a single week, 42 villages in one area paid over 67 million naira in levies to bandits operating in that territory. 1 week, 67 million naira from farmers. This is not crime the way most people think of crime. This is a shadow state. It has pricing, it has logistics, it has courts, tax collection, and armed enforcement. It is running inside the space that the Nigerian state walked away from. And it all runs on gold.
The man who sat at the center of that system was a warlord named Halilu Sububu. His followers called him the King of Kings. He controlled the largest share of gold mines under bandit management in Zamfara. Every miner working in his territory paid him a cut every single week. Nigerian miners, Burkinabe workers, Chinese companies, everyone paid. And that gold did not sit in a vault. According to court documents filed in Abuja, his network used it to acquire a military gun truck from Libya, routed through Niger Republic at a cost of 28.5 million naira, paid partly in cash and partly by electronic transfer. Sububu did not just arm his own fighters. He sold weapons to other kachalas across 6 states. He was the dealer, the middleman, the man who turned gold from Zamfara into AK-47s for gangs across the entire Northwest. On the 12th of September 2024, the Nigerian military found him. The gunfight lasted hours. When it ended, Sububu was dead. Across Zamfara, people celebrated. The governor called it a major victory. Within weeks, the violence got worse. His men split into factions. Each faction started fighting the others over the gold mines, the weapons, the routes, and who would take his place. Killing the King of Kings did not break the system. It shattered it into pieces, and the pieces kept cutting. Now, if what I just told you surprises you, drop a comment below. I want to know what you think before we get to the part that changes everything. In January 2022, the federal government put it on paper. Armed bandits were officially designated as terrorists under the Terrorism Prevention Act. Membership in a designated group carries up to life in prison. That was over 4 years ago. Since then, the military has killed hundreds of fighters. Airstrikes have flattened forest camps. Operations with names like Hadarindaji, Sahel Sanity, Fanshama, and Whale Punch have moved through the Northwest one after another. And across every single one of those operations, the number of bandit kachalas who have been taken to court, tried, and convicted is exactly 0. Now, consider this.
In the first 3 months of 2026, just 90 days, Nigeria's Drug Enforcement Agency secured 974 drug convictions, 11 kingpins, 254 years in prison between them. 974 convictions in 90 days for drug offenses, 0 convictions in 3.5 years for the men who kidnapped children and in some cases killed them. The Nigerian state knows how to convict people. It knows how to build cases, secure witnesses, and put kingpins in prison. It does it every quarter. It simply does not do it for the men running the kidnapping industry. And the analyst Chetamama gave the clearest explanation of why. The drug trade has international ramifications. It affects Nigeria's passport standing at airports around the world. There is external pressure forcing accountability. The kidnap industry is almost entirely internal, and internally, for reasons we're about to get into, the system is too profitable for too many powerful people to dismantle. That brings us to Bello Matawalle. Matawalle was governor of Zamfara from 2019 to 2023. During that time, he launched a peace program. He invited Kachalas to Government House. His officials sat across the table from Turji and other warlords. He called it dialogue. In 2023, President Tinubu appointed him Minister of State for Defense. Then, in December 2025, it all blew open. It started with Musa Kamarawa, a former aide to Matawalle who came forward with allegations that while Matawalle was governor, he purchased 34 brand-new Hilux trucks and distributed them directly to Kachalas, including Sububu and Turji. He alleged that millions of naira in cash were paid to bandit leaders, that a house was built and completed for Bello Turji, that 88 million naira was given to bandit commanders to purchase cattle for government ceremonies.
An Islamic cleric named Bello Asada then came forward and corroborated the claims, adding details of his own, and then Turji himself released a video. He confirmed that he had met Matawalle at Zamfara Government House during peace talks. He denied receiving money, but he did not defend the governor either. He said the governor had ordered airstrikes that killed 70 of his people, including women and children. He said Matawalle had his father arrested and jailed for no reason. That is not a defense. That is something else entirely. The current Zamfara governor went on national television and stated that his predecessor was fully involved in some of this banditry. Matawalle, through his spokesperson, denied everything and called Kamarawa a convicted gun runner. None of these allegations have been tested in any court, but the man that multiple sources have accused of arming Kachalas now sits in the ministry that is supposed to defeat them. And Matawalle is not the only name that has been raised. In January 2025, Senator Adams Oshomole, chairman of the Senate Committee on Interior, stood up in the Senate chamber and stated that retired military generals were behind illegal mining in the Northwest. He said they used helicopters to access mine sites, dropped weapons to arm civilians to guard the operations, and flew gold out of the country while making billions of dollars. He said he had written to President Buhari about this years earlier, in writing with specific intelligence from a retired general who briefed him personally. He said what subsequently happened was exactly what that general had warned him would happen. No arrests followed, no investigation was announced. A retired major general publicly dismissed the claims as reckless and baseless. Oshomole has not produced documented evidence in public, but the statement exists, on the record, in the Senate, and it was met with silence. Now let us talk about where the weapons are actually coming from, because this connects Nigeria's crisis to something much larger. After Gaddafi fell in 2011 and his stockpiles began moving south, the weapons followed 3 main routes through Niger into Nigeria's northwest. In April 2021, Nigerian soldiers intercepted one convoy near a town called Ingal. Inside the vehicles were 77 AK-47s, 7 RPGs, 2 rocket launchers, and 30,000 rounds of ammunition. That was one convoy on one day on one road. Nigeria's entire northern frontier, 1,500 kilometers of scrubland, is patrolled by an estimated 1,950 personnel. The weapons do not move on cash alone. They move on gold.
Kachalas tax every miner in their territory and convert that gold into weapons through partners in Mali and Burkina Faso. Between 2012 and 2022, the UAE imported nearly 2,600 tons of undeclared gold from Africa, roughly $115 billion worth. Nigeria's own solid minerals minister, Dele Alake, has publicly acknowledged that a large portion of Nigerian gold ends up in the UAE unlawfully. And the pipeline has people inside it too. By 2022, women were being used to move ammunition and disassembled weapons under their clothing and inside food packages. One woman was caught in Sokoto State carrying 991 rounds of AK-47 ammunition being trafficked to a bandit kingpin in Zamfara. Another was arrested in Plateau State with 8 locally built weapons and 400 rounds, all heading to bandit camps across Kaduna, Katsina, and Zamfara. And in an interception that revealed something even more disturbing, among the people caught carrying 60 million naira in cash towards bandit camps in Kaduna were security personnel. People paid to fight the kidnappers were allegedly helping deliver money to them. Then, in July 2023, Niger's government fell in a military coup. The security cooperation along the border, already thin, collapsed entirely. The road from Libya to Zamfara has never been more open than it is right now. For Nigerians living in the United Kingdom and the United States watching this analysis, here is something worth sitting with. The weapons dismantling the security of your home communities are passing through international arms pipelines that Western intelligence services have the architecture to track. The question of why that intelligence does not translate into real diplomatic pressure on the transit states is one that the Nigerian diaspora has never seriously raised at the political level. That conversation is overdue. Now, let me address what people get wrong about this crisis, because there are a few arguments you will hear that sound reasonable but do not hold up under the full picture. The first one is that it's an ethnic conflict. It's true that banditry in the Northwest is predominantly rooted in Fulani herder communities, but calling it an ethnic war completely misses what's actually happening underneath. The Macban Association, which is the main Fulani cattle breeders group, reports that more than 18,000 of its own members have been killed since 2015. Over 1 million Fulani people displaced, over 87,000 homes destroyed, over 1 million cattle rustled or slaughtered. The communities that produced the bandits are their primary victims. This is an economic and governance collapse that happens to run along ethnic lines. It is not a tribal war. The second argument is that killing warlords is working. Sububu is dead, Ali Kawaje is dead, Dan Karami is dead, the military has taken out dozens of Kachalas, and violence in 2025 was worse than in 2024. Decapitation without dismantling the economic system underneath does not produce resolution. It produces fragmentation. And fragmented armed groups are in many ways more dangerous than organized ones because they are harder to negotiate with and harder to track. The third argument is that the state simply does not have the tools or the capacity. That one is the easiest to disprove. The state designated bandits as terrorists in 2022. It has active military operations across the Northwest. It has a court system that convicted 974 drug offenders in 90 days. The tools exist. The capacity exists. What does not exist is the political decision to apply them. And the reason that political decision has not been made is that the system, as it currently runs, is too useful to too many people with power for them to want it genuinely broken. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's the logical conclusion of the evidence we have just walked through together.
So where does this go from here? What are the signals you should be watching for? The first thing to watch is the ongoing federal trial of Musa Kamarawa and 3 others on 11 counts of terrorism. This is, as far as we know, the first time the inner workings of the bandit supply chain have been spoken aloud in a Nigerian courtroom. A witness identified only as ABC has already described on the stand how one of the defendants personally delivered a gun chuck to Suburu's camp, how the bandits fired into the air in celebration when it arrived, how they posed for photographs with the vehicle, Suburu, the witness, and the defendant standing together. If that trial is quietly delayed,
If witnesses start disappearing from proceedings, if the charges are reduced without explanation, that is your signal about where the political will actually sits. The second thing to watch is Matawali. Whether he is ever questioned, investigated, or removed from the defense ministry, his continued presence in that role is itself a data point. It tells you something about what the federal government's actual position is on the allegations that have been made against him. The third thing to watch is Lakurawa. This is a group that most Nigerians outside the Northwest are only beginning to hear about, and it represents something qualitatively different from the Kachalas we have been discussing. In the late 2010s, community leaders in parts of Sokoto State made a desperate decision. Bandits were raiding their villages. The military was not coming. The police were not coming. So they reached out through a Cattle Breeders Association contact and brought in fighters from Mali. Those fighters drove the bandits back. The villages were safe. But then the fighters did not leave. They set up their own courts, enforcing strict religious law. They started taxing the communities. They began recruiting local young men with payments of up to 1 million naira per fighter. And in 2019, when a dispute arose over 63 million naira that a chief's son had been holding for them, they killed the same district head who had helped bring them in. By 2024, this group had a name, Lakurawa. And according to the Hudson Institute, it has become a name that covers fighters linked to both Al-Qaeda-affiliated networks and the Islamic State Sahel province operating in the same area. The Kachalas who came before them raided for money. Lakurawa stays. It governs. It builds. It is backed by international command structures that extend far beyond northwest Nigeria. If Lakurawa consolidates shadow governance in more communities across Sokoto and Kebbi, the nature of this crisis changes in a way that makes what we have described so far look like the early chapter. And the fourth thing to watch is the gold. Nigeria's Solid Minerals Minister said publicly in December 2023 that the illegal mining funding this system was being sponsored by powerful Nigerians, not foreigners, not small-time operators, but heavy and powerful individuals inside the country. He said the government was working to identify them. That was over 2 years ago. No names have been published. Watch whether the UAE gold import data ever becomes a formal Nigerian government investigation. Watch whether the Solid Minerals Ministry moves from public statements to actual prosecutions, because right now those statements exist only as words, and in this system, words without consequences are just noise. The long-term picture is this. Every serious research body that has studied this conflict, from West Point's Combating Terrorism Center to the International Crisis Group, to the analysts who have physically walked into these forests, they all say the same thing. This will not end through military force alone. Killing Kachalas creates vacuums. Vacuums create fragmentation. Fragmentation creates more violence. The only thing that actually raises the cost of running this system is breaking the economic infrastructure underneath it. The gold pipeline, the arms supply chain, the security vote architecture that rewards chaos over peace, the political protection that keeps powerful sponsors unnamed and unprosecuted. The analyst, Cheta, from SBM Intelligence, put it as plainly as anyone I have heard say it. He said there is never a point of no return. The real question is how much force and how much political will you are prepared to bring to bear to bring things back to normal. He said we need to fix the basic economy, the normal, legitimate economy, in order to get this thing over and done with. Until we do that, he said, it will probably keep getting worse. And looking at the data right now, it is getting worse. In the first half of 2025 alone, at least 2,266 people were killed by bandits and insurgents across Nigeria. That number surpassed the total for all of 2024 in just 6 months. The crisis has spread from the northwest into Kwara, into Plateau, into central Nigeria. It is not contained. It is...